Did you want to say something, honey?
No. Trying to get through that. No, it's
Therapy?
true. I am awkward.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast with Jake and Kathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture. Be sure to subscribe.
We're with Chris and Linda Padgett, founder of the Center for Holy Marriage, and you can find out what they're doing, chrisandlindapadgett.com. Guys, tell me just a little bit about what you've been up to, what you feel called to do in your marriage ministry.
That's great. Last time we saw you, I was stuck in the back of one of the smallest pickup trucks on the planet. And when I got out, we were trying to video it, and I got tangled up, and it was a clown show. What we've been doing is really just powering down and working on really helping marriages. That's been our great kind of mission, especially together. We've been married for over 33 years, and we have 9 kids and 8 grandkids. And really, our kind of, it's not like we're pretending that we're experts, but you don't accidentally stay together for 33 plus years. And I think what we realize is that it would be ridiculous not to share some of the tricks of the trade. So that's what we've been really doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken lots of different forms. And so we are still doing a lot of work local and actually around the world doing marriage ministry. So locally, we do a lot of working with pre-married couples. We do that in different dioceses also. And then we do a lot of marriage retreats and marriage talks and all that kind of stuff. So, and then we also have the teachable account. We have courses. And then the newest thing is the podcast, all of it centering around marriage. Because I think what we want to do is, again, not say, hey, we're doing it right, follow our lead, but we want to inspire people to understand that their marriage can be way better than they think or imagine it to be.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
that marriage is awesome. We just want to inspire people to think that it is really an awesome thing. And, that the world paints such a drab picture of it. But
right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's so cool. I mean, 9 kids and 8 grandkids. I bet that's a lot. So how do you prioritize marriage with such a big family?
Well, we ignore the children.
Best answer ever.
No, I mean, we love being together. That's the truth, is that when we met in high school, we were 17. We loved being together. We became each other's best friends. And even in the early years when we had a lot of little ones, we would just remind the kids, when you're gone and you leave the house and you go off and do your thing, she was here before you and she's going to be here after you. And and really, even things like when kids were being maybe disrespectful or saying something they shouldn't have, then I would say something along the lines of, don't talk to my girlfriend like that, or don't talk to my wife like that. Because I think what I wanted them to realize is that our relationship is separate from who they are to a large degree, but also is inclusive of who they are to a large degree. And so we still are each other's best friends. We love hanging out together. My idea of alone time is being with Linda. Her idea of alone time is not being with me. It's actually being alone.
That's cute.
We do seem to get along, and we like what we're doing.
I love that, because what you're saying is there's that security for kids growing up, that like when they see how much their parents really love each other and that they are prioritizing each other, like then the kids can walk away with that comfort of like, okay, like I'm safe in this relationship. And I think they are looking for that. And I think it's especially challenging in the world today that can oftentimes be so opposed to Catholicism and what we believe. Parents now more than ever have that obligation to teach their kids what's right and what's moral. So what advice do you have for parents who are just going against that wave of secularism in society? How can they really teach their kids what is good?
Well, I think they stand up for what they believe in a loving, compassionate manner, so that we, our kids go to public school here in New York, and which was very scary because we did homeschooling, we did Catholic school, and we finally put them into public school here. It was scary, but so they've been exposed to everything, but they know We do a lot of just open discussions, and that we encourage our kids to love other people, be compassionate and understanding of their own struggles, of other people's struggles and issues. But this is what we believe as Catholics, to make that very clear. But I really think the biggest thing that we can do as parents for our children is to live the faith openly to them. You can talk all you want. They get talked at school. They get talked at on video, on the phones. They get talked at all the time. But how much do they get modeled? Like really modeled, and modeling relationship with God. That it's in our vocabulary. Everything we talk about. They're in the car, in the backseat, when we're talking about theological things, when we're praising God, Christian music in the car. They see us reading things, but they see us playing video games. They see us doing other things. They hear us fighting. They see it all.
Right.
But as a part of that, we love Jesus, and that's our, and so when you teach and model that relationship, the Lord is big enough to handle all that the world throws at them. I want them to walk away knowing Jesus and having that reliance on him. And it means that they're going to struggle. But I tell my kids, I don't pray that your life is easy. I pray that you learn to depend on God, but because that's, in the end, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters.
Amen.
So it's scary. We teach them lots of things that we don't want them to learn.
Right.
So, the first time, a kid spurts out a cuss word, you're like, where'd they get that?
It's like,
and now with their own grandchildren, like we just think, oh, you just wait. Your kids are going to model what you do, and they're going to learn that lesson. So
I'm just so impressed that you're just so open to life, having 9 kids. What does it mean to be open to life according to the Catholic Church?
Well, the Catholic Church has a lot to say about marriage and unitive, procreative when it comes to the act, but also the idea of, the possibility, being open to the possibility of marriage, even from the beginning. So you can have a couple enter into a sacramental marriage if they're completely closed off to the idea of the possibility of children. So every unitive act does not necessarily mean that it's going to result in a child, obviously, but the church wants this act to be a witness to the world that the way that God loves, here's a fancy word, God's love there's a fecundity, a life-giving reality that is at work. So God pours forth from who he is, Father, Son, and Spirit, and that unity of the Trinity, which is going to blow your mind, but it's a complete gift from one to the other, and that's life-giving. The best way that can be modeled in space and time is that unitive and potentially even procreative possibility of a husband and wife who come together and are complete gift of self from one to the other. So the church never looks and says, oh, great, you guys are, attracted to each other and you have passion and you have common interests. So now, you should definitely be married, which, by the way, is great. And you should be attracted and passionate and have common interests to a degree. But the reason that the Catholic Church is so keen on and big on marriage is that it witnesses to the world what love really looks like. And so that's why it's till death do us part, because God's love is not fickle. It doesn't just kind of enter in and then just enter out because it's inconvenient, right? Rich, poor. We do these vows almost haphazardly, but it's serious business, and it's a great opportunity and responsibility.
Well, I think that, open to life, that there's so much, all that theology, all that the doctrine, the church teaching, it's beautiful and it's heavy, but in the reality, what does it look like to be open to life is very different for every couple. And it is not an easy thing. We can paint the picture to be beautiful because it is. I mean, life is beautiful, but there's so many couples out there struggling to conceive, that and so, yes, we can say you got to be open. At least you got to be open, whether or not you have children. But there's such a pain and an agony there in couples who are struggling with infertility, or struggling with they want more than 2. They have the 2, and I've talked to many couples who feel judged for only having 2. And because they're sitting next to couple families with 5 or 6 kids. And for whatever reason that there's so many health issues, there's mental health issues, there's all that can play into the effect of what it looks like for that family to be open to life. And then I think also the rose-colored image of 9 kids, it's hard. I mean, I don't know. There are some people out there who set out to say, I want 12 kids, and they are happy. They love being pregnant, and that's what they've done. And, I fought it the whole way. I did never set out to have 9 kids. I hated being pregnant. And it was not easy, but, do I regret it? Heck no. I love my kids. Just relishing in the gifts of the Lord, and that's the one that comes up all the time. Is, wow, Lord, you've blessed me that this is hard, but what a blessing it is. And so, whatever that is, what is open to life? It has to be that personal journey.
Yeah.
I do think that open to life can be also open to loss. There's a lot of couples that we know have had numerous miscarriages, and you would never imagine that, but it is, I think it's really important to recognize that, it's good to burst the idealized bubble. Because many scenarios and situations that are beyond. We were trying to tell the Lord that it was okay for him to bless us in other ways, but
nice.
I mean, but there's loss and there's life when you talk about this idea of complete gift of self to one another. And I think that every couple has their own story. It's not our responsibility or job to go into their world and judge. You should definitely have more than 2 kids, because we don't know the whole story.
There's a real beauty in what you're saying there, that there's that quest to know, okay, what is God's calling for me, and to avoid comparison to other people, and to think, oh, right there, they're the perfect Catholic family, and I'm not measuring up to that. And not just with raising kids, but I think just marriage in general, it can be so tempting to be like, like they have it all together, and we don't. So what do you say to those couples who are maybe getting into that temptation to believe that kind of thing, that like there's something wrong?
Right. I think one of my all-time favorite quotes is, don't judge the inside of your home to the outside of somebody else's. Don't judge the inside of your marriage or your family to the outside of somebody else's. We have experienced that, looking at this ideal family. All these kids, they pray the rosary every night. They're in daily mass. They homeschool. And they seem normal, not like floating above the ground and singing Latin all the time, like just normal, down to earth, beautiful family that ended in divorce. And infidelity was not the issue. We don't know the full story, but mind blowing. They like both husband and wife. You would see them in daily mass, in separate masses, even after the divorce. You're like, what? How can they not make it work? We have no idea. And so it's so dangerous to compare. It's so unjust. It's unjust to yourself and to your family, to your marriage, to compare, because you have no idea what's going on. And so I think for us, we've always, we're not going to air all the dirty laundry, but we want people to see us for who we are, that, that we are awkward and, whatever. You're very awkward, but, we don't want people to think that we have it all together, because we do not have it all together. The Lord has just been very generous, but that is such a dangerous place, that comparison. Did you want to say something, honey?
No.
I think he's a little hurt about that awkward.
Trying to get through that. No, it's true. I am awkward. We talk a lot about the idea of couples. You're creating your own world, and it's a weird way to say it, but it's impossible to do that if you're trying to hijack, the uniqueness of you in your relationship and kind of superimpose somebody else's, plan, so to speak. There are maybe some basics that we have, like allowing Christ into that relationship, being a part of the sacramental life. But at the end of the day, the way that we love, the way that we lay down our life, the way that we are gift to one another is going to look a little bit different, because there's such an intimacy in knowing one another that allows for you to be gift to one another in that way. And also there's a kind of an opportunity to sacrifice selfish behavior that will be unique to each couple anyways. So, you're creating a world, and that world is something that's going to impact eternity, because your children grow up in that world, or you, as you lay down your life for each other, you journey towards sanctity together, and that world is kind of the big road that you walk together. And I love that. I think that's one of the great joys. If we were trying to have our relationship like everybody else's, I never would have. I never would have done the band. We never would have moved to Ohio. We never would have done hardly any of this stuff, because it was unconventional. It didn't fit into anybody's plans of what. In fact, we wouldn't have our firstborn because we were encouraged to contracept when we got married. And a few months into that, we're like, forget this. Like, we want to start our family if that's okay. This world idea is a big part of our kind of our mission.
When family life gets really busy, when the kids are running around, and because we talk about prioritizing marriage, right? But how do you do that in concrete terms? Like, what are your favorite date night ideas? What are your favorite things to do on your own? And not only just in terms of like the fun things, but also spiritual things too.
Well, Linda's really good about creating events for our family to participate in. I mean, if it were up to me, I would basically just be reading all the time, and the kids could do whatever they want. I don't.
Yeah.
But Linda insists that we do things as a family. And,
Boring.
we have to go hiking, and we have to go. But honestly, though, it's been a real treat. I mean, we have a scrapbook filled with pictures, so to speak, because of the way that Linda's brain works. And so, like, for example, we did on the property Bilbo's birthday last year. Everybody dressed up like hobbits and whatever, and they came, and we had literally like Hobbit Town, like it was
Wow.
here. We all get crazy, and we'll go to the medieval festival coming up, or there'll be the Scottish festival. So there are these huge things that we as a family will just all go to and do and be a part of. But for many years with us as a family, depending on the age of the kids, there would be things like we would pray, for example, the Divine Mercy Chaplet when we drove around, or we would do the rosary every night as a family, maybe after dinner, or we would, just try to shove the kids to bed because we just wanted a few minutes to talk to each other. I mean, so like, this is the thing about a marriage, is that I think people feel like I'll get everything structured and implemented in place, and then I'll have the perfect marriage. We did A, and then we did B, and now we get automatically C. The truth is that you have seasons in your marriage, and sometimes you're doing a lot better at all the things that you want to do, and all the things you don't want to do, are dismissed into the wayside. But there are other times it's reversed, and you're overwhelmed and you feel lost. And so Linda's had some great advice that she's given to couples before, like sometimes don't worry about making the fancy meals and making everything all perfect. Just order some pizza, sit down and watch a movie together as a family. Like, I think that's the key for us in our role as parents, is how do we prepare them for this thing called life? Yes. And teach them what a relationship can look like. Yes. But how do we also allow them, give them opportunities to start becoming who they're meant to be?
This is the Truth Pop Podcast. Fill your faith.